in these areas until 2027. Secondly, in the same way, I propose that ministers of EU integration and ministers of economy and finance meet periodically to discuss pillars 3 and 4 of the growth plan. Now we launch periodic meetings among ministers of interiors and gymnasium-style meetings of ministers of foreign affairs, ministers of education and innovation, as well as ministers of energy, agriculture and environment. So these meetings should be structured between the EU and the region and not just among us. And all these meetings should have the aim to push from all corners towards this strategic goal that has brought us here together. And it would be great if in the next Sarajevo meeting we have a comprehensive draft of the Common Regional Market 2.0, which is to be coordinated by RCC, CEFTA, other regional organizations, and our Sherpas, of course. And last but not least, we need to set in motion a political dialogue with the Commission, the EU member states, on acquiring a new status for partners who are negotiating. The countries that are negotiating should have space in the political Europe to be included as observers in all the mechanisms of political and technical level of the Union. So this would be also a way to accompany what we are trying to accelerate in economic terms, also in political terms. And because I'm seeing here with pleasure the representatives of the European Investment Bank, I want to insist on my obsession. It's key for us to be helped, all of us, with a new instrument that will ease our need to get more loans by being supported with EU guarantees. This is doable, and this will change completely the panorama because, yes, it's very important that we'll get also some finance, and it's not small for us, at least, because it's important money. But at the same time, we should not fool each other and either ourselves. In the economic investment plan framework, we have 90% loans and only 10% grants. So it's the upside-down world vis-à-vis the European member states, which have 90% grants and only 10% loans. Okay, we understand and we are not questioning it, but it would be fantastic if, with the help of European Investment Bank, we will push and convince EU to guarantee for our loans. This would change everything. And let me be very frank with you. At the end, as we were told when we were kids, depending economically from you was practically losing our freedom to get rid of you. So guarantee our loans, and you have us for the rest of our lives, because we can't escape. You'll go after us asking for the money, and we have to stay with you. It's a good way to make sure that in the next generation of Europe, when I hope not, but many of you would like to leave, we, the Balkan people, will remain loyal to the European Union, and maybe will become the center of the next generation of the European Union. And we'll have just some troubles to decide where our Brussels will be, but the rest will be fine. So thank you, dear Mickey, and next time make sure that Montenegro is sunny and not like this, because we are not in Berlin here, God's sake.
So if you are trying to avoid Balkan Brussels, then I guess today's meeting was not really supportive to the Montenegro's candidacy to become, or it is
but
because of the weather.
Finally entering this EU, because since I met Montenegrins, they were saying to me, no, we are not like Balkans, we are entering EU next year. Entering this EU, for God's sake. Don't continue to say this. You don't continue to behave like you are entering and you are still with us.
I have to disappoint you. We already entered the EU, so now we are on behalf of EU. We are making further strides. Thank you, Prime Minister Rama. Now we have President Vučić to give a short or long. Thank you so much.
Typically, it's always promised to be short, but it gets longer than everyone.
Thank you. We'll measure it easily, whether it was long or short. Thank you very much for your hospitality here in Montenegro, and I would like to say a few words apart from this bureaucratic data that we all exposed here or about to expose it. Thank you, Commissioner Varhelyi. Thank you, Mr. Kopman. Thank you, Jim. Thank you all for being with us today. And he is really counting my time. Well, we are very enthusiastic about this plan. It has been the case from the very first moment. And I'm not in the habit of flattering anyone in the world, particularly not anyone in Brussels. But I have to say that this kind of changed approach, as a matter of fact, created an opportunity for us in the Balkans. And thank you for doing this. Even many of us, and that's why I cannot say anything about our people, because it's obvious that they don't understand what we speak about here. And most of the journalists, they don't get it, what we speak about here, which is actually quite regular and quite understandable. And this is because we don't discuss big political issues, we discuss ordinary people lives issues, living standard issues, something that will develop our economies. That's why we are very much on board on this. And I believe that we have had so far good discussions, and we have agreed upon most of the things. I think that we have one or two outstanding issues, not more than that, as Serbia, there were some decisions that were not easy for us regarding public procurement, state aid issue, even visas issues, and but now it's just that unbundling of some SOEs, the issue that we'll have to take care of, and we'll do it. And I hope that, having in mind this question, that you'll be able to accept just our small request on that, which is very close to your demands that were exposed to us. What I wanted to say, just for all the people, taking care of single European payment area, taking care of green lanes, taking care of taking care of its ACAA, which is, it's the language that, what does this mean, ACAA? I'll tell you, it's agreement on conformity assessment and acceptance of industrial products. But that's what we need, because I'll tell you what is that all about. It sounds stupid, but it's very useful. If we'll have to, let's say, export our washing machines or vacuum cleaners or whatever, they won't scrutinize it every single time, whether it was done with all necessary certifications or not. It will make it much easier, and it will help developing us our economies. And we have several of those factories, of those plants in Serbia that would like to see the benefits from this kind of agreements. And it's covering 10% of overall Serbian export to European Union, which is not to be underestimated at all. And then we go furthermore with the other type of products, which will be of an utmost importance for us. This is really something that will bring good results to the region, and I'm not speaking about the money, because we do appreciate that, because it's made by your taxpayers, but and that's why we always say that we are very much grateful. And but this is really not to that extent significant amount of money, although there is nothing to be undermined or underestimated. The more important is the structural reforms that we'll have to adjust with and to adopt as a part of our system, and this is what we appreciate very much. It would be very easy for me to respond in a political way to some people here that cannot say anything about economy, and they have never said anything about their economies, but they're always ready to give political lectures to everybody, not only to me, but it would be pretty much senseless. Would look like them, and will do my best to avoid it. Once again, many thanks, and I believe, Eddie, that I was much shorter than you, although you were not measuring your time, but my people did it, just don't worry about it. And hope that we'll have a good meeting with the very best conclusions next time when we meet each other in Sarajevo. And just one thing for the public here, because Eddie launched that topic, whether we're going to be a part of European Union or not. I know that we are not going to be a part of Europe, none of us, before Ukraine enter European Union. Whether we'll be able to enter European Union together with Ukraine or not, that's another issue. And you can say whatever you want. I'm telling you, my intelligence is telling me that I'm right. And it's not about my intelligence, it's about something that is happening, which means that we'll have to wait for six more years, which is also okay, but because, you are somewhere very popular in my country. European Union is not that popular, like we are not that popular, although we are the biggest part of this region. Anyway, this is something that will bring us closer to European Union, and that's why I'm not going not only to deny the importance of this kind of initiatives, but I'm commending it and saying once again many thanks to all of you and for supporting us and for being so helpful. Thank you very much.
So there were two speeches.
Thank you very much, President Vučić. We fully agree. I think one very important thing that the President has just mentioned is that structural reforms that we undertake as a part of the growth plan are the key signal to the businesses that the uncertainty of the region joining single market is less and less. And that will change the investment atmosphere in the region, and we really hope that the perception that this market is alone, that is a small market, that is a poor market, will be soon gone. Thank you very much. Now we have Prime Minister Jaferi. Please.
Почитуван премиер Спаjic, почитани колеги премиери, почитани комесар Вархеи, помощник државни секретар O'Brien, генерален директор Kopman, високи представници на партнерските институции и пријатели на регионот. Ми представува задоволство што сум повторно дел од овој круг пријатели кои разговараат за конкретни прашања во интерес на регионот и европската перспектива на нашите земји. Одговорноста е дотолку поголема со оглед на неизвестноста пред која е исправена мојата земја по неодамнешните претседателски и парламентарни избори. Денес сакам пред вас уште еднаш да нагласам дека владата која ја предводам останува посветена на остварувањето на европската агенда, која бара спроведување на суштински реформи и усогласување со правото и стандардите на Европската унија. Дополнително, го поздравувам усвојувањето на регулативата за меhanizмот за реформи и раст, со која се обезбедени дополнителни финансиски средства за поддршка на реформите, а чие користење е поврзано со испорачување резултати. Изминатиот период и покрај фактот што Северна Македонија беше во изборен период, интензивно работевме на финализирање на нашата реформска агенда 2024-2027. Последната нацрт верзија на реформската агенда, одобрена од владата, беше споделена со Европската комисија на почетокот на мај. Воедно, сакам да потенцирам уште два важни моменти, кои исто така се случија после состанокот во Тирана. Првиот беше на крајот на април, кога Северна Македонија ја поднесе својата предапликација за членство во СЕПА. И вториот, кој е во однос на иницијативата за европски центри за дигитални иновации. Односно, во месец март објавивме јавен повик на кој аплицираа повеќе центри за дигитални иновации. Ова се мали, но значајни чекори кои ја потврдуваат насоката на движење на земјава. Со ист таков ентузијазм и посветеност очекувам да се спроведат најновите патокази кои се однесуваат на забрзаното приближување кон заедничкиот внатрешен пазар, но и спроведувањето на реформската агенда. И последно, но не помалку важно, во однос на регионалната соработка ги поддржуваме начелно поставените темели во новиот акцијски план за заедничкиот регионален пазар. Имајќи предвид дека сме во период пред избор на нова влада, деталните активности за кои се надлежни ресорните институции допрва треба да бидат етаблирани и развиени во периодот што следи. Овде, исто така сакам да го потенцирам фактот дека за да успее новиот акцијски план за заеднички регионален пазар, на кој напорно работат сите, треба да се одблокира работењето на ЦЕФТА и сметам дека дојде ред Северна Македонија да има свој представник на највисоко ниво. Се надевам дека ова трасирана патека ќе продолжи да биде водилка и за следната влада на Република Северна Македонија. Ви благодарам на вниманието.
Thank you, Prime Minister Jaferi. That was very efficient. And now we have Mr. Varheli, Commissioner. The floor is yours.
Thank you very much, Prime Minister. Dear President, dear Prime Ministers, ladies and gentlemen, dear friends, after only 2 months, we're here again to make not only a strong political commitment to our shared agenda, but to register, first of all, that the growth plan is no longer a draft. It is a reality that we already have started implementing. It seems that the region not only feels this new geopolitical momentum, but also understands and starts to deliver on it. The sense of urgency, I think, is very high, and so is the motivation to deliver everything that we have decided together on the ground to bring the Western Balkans also in real terms, as fast as we can, up to the level of convergence with the European Union. Because the plan offers a very serious offer for the entire
region. This is why I'm very happy to hear that the Balkans, for once, is optimistic. Of course, with the usual tones and rhythm, but the undertone is an optimistic one, not something that you hear many, many times. And I think that it is clear that the offer the EU has put on the table should lead us to a next institutional cycle where actual enlargement will take place. So the next European Commission should be an enlargement commission that will see at the end of its mandate new members entering. And I'm quite sure that with everything we have done together under this mandate, lastly with the growth plan, the Western Balkans will be part of that enlargement. Because if you look at what we have put on the table together, the new methodology, the economic and investment plan, the growth plan, what you see is, I hope, an irreversible set of tools that leads us to enlargement. Just to give you one element, with all the tools we have in place, by 2027, the Western Balkans will be receiving the same or comparable level of aid intensity as our current cohesion and structural fund beneficiary member states. That means that they will reach 90%, 90 percentage points of aid intensity of the 13 cohesion and structural funds countries by the end of this multi-annual financial period, which runs out at 2027. So there will be no excuse, if I may use a bit Balkan terminology, as I'm also from here, there will be no more excuse for the Western Balkans not to be ready by 2027 to join the European Union. Of course, for this to happen, we need also to work on the ground, because this is the grand design I explained, but the grand design doesn't work if it is not implemented down to the wire and on the ground fully. Because what we are proposing with the plan is not only a plan to integrate the Western Balkans into the European Union, but also this region to integrate within itself. Because we not only want to bring closer and into the European Union each and every partner at the Western Balkans, but also we want you to use the opportunity that your common EU membership will provide even before you join the European Union. And I think this is not only a political idea, but I think it is also a business and economic reality that everyone has on its mind. Because the offer we make means that you can also integrate yourselves into the European markets one by one, sector by sector, where you are prepared and where you are ready to apply the same rules. The first one is going to be the SEPA, mentioned by many of you. 3 of you have already made applications. I hope to see all of you concluding it, so that the 1st of January next year will mark the fact that the whole of the Western Balkans is part and parcel of the single euro payment area, meaning at least €500 million of cost saving for businesses and citizens every year. Not to mention the huge economic potential it might have for your investors' climate. The second one, which we discussed also in Tirana, which is advancing well, that is the green lanes. We see that the 11 border crossing points have been identified. We're allocating the funds to build these border crossings so that we can, from next year, see a completely different reality. Because only by this we can reduce, on average, at least 3 hours of waiting time for every truck. This means a saving of at least 2 percentage points of the costs of all your exports and imports. It's a huge cost. Then, of course, we are also making progress on the digital part of our agenda, the Wi-Fi for the Western Balkans, something that we are rolling out gradually everywhere. But dear friends, of course, there are other areas, new areas that is emerging now from the region. To me, this confirms the ownership of the region of the growth plan. And in that, President Vučić already mentioned the agreements on conformity assessment and acceptance. Basically, this is the tool through which it's not only going to be access to the markets custom-free, which we have under the association agreements anyhow, but it means immediate access to the single market without any further conditions. This means that, for example, in Kotor, I understand that they are producing car parts. Those car parts will enter the European market as European products. Most of these companies are European companies anyhow, so it shouldn't be such a tremendously big task to apply the same rules here that they apply back home. And this will also mean that new sectors of the industries will be looking at you for potential investments. This means growth and jobs directly. No matter how administrative the wording looks, in effect, this is what it will do. The other element that was mentioned was the Critical Medicines Alliance. We were very happy to see the inauguration, although not all of you are part of it. I guess it would be more than necessary for all of you to be part of it. We have seen already one pandemic, and we cannot exclude another one. So if you want to ensure the continuous supply of critical medicines, this alliance is a must-have. And this alliance will also link you up with the European medicine markets, which will provide you the security of supply for long term. Then we're also working on another one, the digital identity wallet. Again, this is something through which you can access much easier markets, for example, electronic public procurement markets in the European Union, or you can use it also in financial transactions that will cut your costs back even further. But all this is very nice as you benefit from the EU markets, but it will not make you attractive enough if you do it alone. It will make you only attractive if you do it also within the region. Meaning, if the cost of sending money between, for example, Belgrade and Tirana is going to be the same as sending money between Berlin and Paris. It will only give you the boost of economic convergence and real integration if you also integrate yourselves within the Balkans. This is why it is as equally important to work on the common regional markets as it is for the early integration into the EU markets. Therefore, it's high time to get over all the, how should I put it, well-established and traditional disagreements, for example, related to the CEFTA, and make a move on, because the region is missing an opportunity. The region will not be able to benefit from all this if we continue with the old disagreements. I think that this frame offers pragmatic solutions also to overcome those difficulties. And as I said many, many times, but I don't want to refer to myself, is that this region on its own could add 1/3 of its GDP to it. It's in your hands to do it. So I think there is no better timing to do it than now. And finally, the good news is that the growth plan is not only alive and kicking, but I think that it will be quite remarkable that we can have the reform agendas agreed within a matter of days with you, something, for example, took much longer with our own member states, just to put a footnote to it. And if you look at the level of commitment that we see emerging from these reform agendas, I was told by our Director General that I should really take on my magnifying glasses because we have not seen this with our own member states. So the level of commitment for reforms is a testament to the commitment of the region. And this is something I think our member states will also appreciate when they look at it, because they will look at it. So it means that within weeks, these plans are going to be already implemented. It also means that if this goes well, then we can have the first payments still before the summer break. Thank you very much.
Thank you for your invaluable address, Mr. Varhelyi. I think it's great to have such an optimistic message from European Commission. And now we have Assistant Secretary of State for European Eurasian Affairs of the United States. Please, Mr. James O'Brien.
Thank you, Mr. Prime Minister. It's great to be here. Why is an American here? Well, the U.S. has long seen that a Europe that's whole, free, and at peace is a core part of our interest. It's good for our economy, better for our people, strong for our security. And so seeing this region make progress in that way is a core American interest, and we will help however we can. I'm encouraged, and maybe I'll just make 4 points. I'm very encouraged to see here that we are talking about having a common regional market and access for countries to the single market of the entire EU. There's been a false debate for many years about whether one has to choose one or the other. But now I think in this structure we're moving forward on both. We talk about the common market as though it's simply a goal off in the future. But I look around the room and see that much of the community exists already, from the RCC to the NGOs who will hold us all to account if we fail, to the people who work every day on conforming presentations for the Commission, who talk to the Commission and learn and have a good discussion back and forth, the people who work on human capital in the region, able to develop plans and implement them, and then the international financial institutions that can make available the resources needed. It exists and it works all the time between these meetings. And so I think it's incredibly encouraging to see everyone here that this isn't simply some top-down plan, but there's a real constituency and community that wants this to happen. So now just a few more quick points. The first is, what I particularly like about the growth plan is that it is measurable. The goal here is that people, goods, capital, and services move securely, more quickly, and cheaper than before. So if I could add a suggestion to Prime Minister Rama's suggestions, let's keep the measurements. Let's publicize them, and then let's show to our people. So Commissioner Varhelyi just emphasized a few key points, that there can be €500 million in savings from the single European payment plan, that we can reduce truck waiting time by 3 hours each. Let's measure that, hold ourselves to account, and push that forward. Now, if we do these things, then I think we'll find that some of the political problems will get easier. This will not solve those issues, but it begins to address them. How is that? And I'm not one of these who believes magically that the more we trade, the less we fight. I think the last 120 years has taught us differently than that. But what I do think is true is that if in a country you're concerned that contraband is crossing your border, then let's put in place a system of scanning the cargo that comes in and out. Don't shut the border, just inspect what comes through. If there's a concern about the kinds of businesses that are crossing the border, how they declare whether they pay bribes, whether there's money laundering, then let's have a system of sharing tax assessments, sharing custom bases, and allow the systems to check how the goods are valued. And then we find that those problems go down as well. If you want more investment and are concerned about unfair subsidies, then let's join a single digital market and have a similar approach to estimating risk in our markets, and then we'll compete fairly across those. And suddenly many of the issues that make it difficult to make progress at a political level will become easier to resolve because we will have practical solutions on a daily basis. That's the area America tends to become most involved, and I would much rather have that discussion in the context where there is shared data and a common basis for operating across the region and from the region into the European Union. And this brings me to my final point. The beauty of the growth plan is that for each participant, the message is simple. Do your own work. Don't ask someone else to do something first so that you can do the work. And I think for each of the leaders here, as important as other issues are, it is incumbent upon each of you, with help from us, to do the work so that your own citizens can benefit from the efficiencies and, frankly, the 4 freedoms that are embodied by this initiative. So I'm very encouraged that we continue to work at it, that the practical ideas are being implemented and that they are expanding into areas that will touch your citizens' lives. And I think we all have to work to be sure that they see what those improvements are, that we talk about them regularly. And I hope we can have in the next meeting some reflection on the progress that we're already seeing for your citizens, and then we can continue to make that a practice. Mr. Prime Minister, thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Jim. And before we continue with the member states and Mr. Tokaz as a representative of member states, as Mr. Varheli has a flight to catch, I would invite for a quick break, if that is okay with Mr. Tokaz, so that we can take family photos and then we can come back and continue with our discussions. Thank you very much.
Gospodina Olivera Varheljija nakon upravo završenog sastanka lidera Zapadnog Balkana sa predstavnicima Europske unije i Sjedinjenih Američkih Država. Na današnjem samitu, koji je organizovan pod sloganom Jedan region, zajednička vizija, One Region, Common Vision, između ostalog razmatran je i plan rasta za Zapadni Balkan, koji uključuje 6 milijardi eura bespovratne pomoći i kredita za ubrzanje socioekonomskog približavanja Europskoj uniji, odnosno 2 milijarde u grantovima i 4 milijarde u povoljnim kreditima koje garantuje Europska unija. Više o samom događaju reći će nam domaćin ovogodišnjeg samita, gospodin Milojko Spajic. Predsjedniče Vlade, izvolite, imate riječ.
Hvala. Prvo bih da se zahvalim našem uvaženom gostu, gospodinu Varheljiju, na prisustvu i svim drugim gostima. Mislim da je bila jako konstruktivna rasprava i da smo imali jednu upravo ovaj slogan Jedan region, jedna vizija je nešto što smo htjeli da pošaljemo kao poruku iz Crne Gore. Ovo je region koji će biti ekonomski napredan, ovo je region koji će biti dio Evropske unije i to je apsolutno sada nepovratan proces i možemo da kažemo da su mnoge bilateralna pitanja koja nas opterećuju ovih dana i vidite da su zadnjih mjesec dana je bilo previše tih bilateralnih pitanja, previše tih tema koje su nažalost vraćale regionu prošlost, ali prošlost ne smije definisati budućnost. Budućnost je ta koja mora definisati prošlost i to je ključna stvar koju želimo da pošaljemo danas. Mnoge ovako jednim multilateralnim pristupom mislim da se mnogi bilateralni problemi mogu riješiti mnogo lakše, sa mnogo manje žuči, sa mnogo manje napora. Mislim da je ovo pravi pristup. Govorili smo o nekim jako optimističnim temama danas, da možemo jako brzo biti dio zajedničkog tržišta, što je enormno bitno za sve nas ovdje koji smo sa Zapadnog Balkana. I da Zapadni Balkan nije malo siromašno tržište, već dio velikog i bogatog tržišta. Da mala Crna Gora nije pola miliona, 7 milijardi BDP, nego da je mala Crna Gora dio 25 trilijona BDP-a i pola milijarde ljudi tržišta. To su velike poruke koje stvarno su nikada bliže i prvo čestitam svima koji su radili na planu rasta, na reformama koje su jako ambiciozne. Mislim da su crnogorski ubjedljivo najambiciozniji, ali to se od nas očekuje. Čuli ste danas poruke iz regiona da nas već smatraju članicom Evropske unije, da se ponašamo na taj način. Ja stvarno mislim da je Crna Gora pravi centar regiona, da ima razumijevanja za sve, da će Crna Gora dati ne 100%, nego 100 miliona % da imamo savršene odnose sa svim državama regiona. Nećemo ostaviti ni jedan kamen neprevrnut dok ne nađemo rješenja za sva multilateralna pitanja koja će u budućnosti olakšavati bilateralna pitanja. Razumijemo bol, razumijemo teme koje opterećuju iz prošlosti, ali jako mi je drago da smo svi okrenuti prema budućnosti i onome što nas sve spaja, a to je ekonomija i evropske integracije.
Zahvaljujemo se. A sada riječ ima evropski komesar, gospodin Varhelj. Please.
Thank you very much. I want to preempt your questions. So I talk first about the interim benchmarks. I understand that this is a very highly discussed topic in the public in Montenegro. So what I can tell you is that we're working very closely with the government. We're very, very close. Very close, although we are not there yet. We still need some decisions, especially in the Parliament. There are still outstanding laws to be passed. But other than that, if the government is able to deliver as it has been delivering since the beginning of its mandate, I'm very hopeful that we will have a very successful intergovernmental conference still before the summer, where we can conclude that the interim benchmarks are met. But as I said, we're not there yet. We need still work to be done. Now, about today, I'm very happy to come to Kotor after 2 months from Tirana. and to state already that the growth plan is no longer a draft. It is alive and kicking. The growth plan is not only bringing the Western Balkans into the European Union, but provides already the benefits before joining the European Union that only member states enjoy. And this is, I think, a key element of the growth plan, something that we discussed at length. And I'm also very happy to see that the areas where the Balkans would want to join the European Union already before accession this year are moving ahead. The first one was the single euro payment area. If I want to simplify it for you, currently, if you want to send 200 euros to Montenegro from the EU or the other way around, you are losing 14 euros, which is a huge amount in proportion. And we could drive this down to less than €1. And I think it speaks for itself. It is an immense change also for the businesses, not to mention the citizens who have families working in Europe. The other element, I think, which is very important, is that the Balkans work as a region, because the Balkans, country by country, are, of course, tremendously important for the European Union, but the Balkans can only enjoy the full benefit and potential of the growth plan if it works as one region. Again, to return to the SEPA, a market of 500,000 people of Montenegro might not be so interesting for a company, but if they can make sure that through the SEPA, if they have a sister company in Tirana, and Tirana is also implementing the SEPA, as you know, then the cost between sending money of the two companies in Tirana and Podgorica has to be the same as if they were doing it within the European Union, let's say between Würzburg and La Rochelle, to give you one example. So I think this came very strongly across today as well, that we should not forget about the common regional market as a huge potential for the region. And on the broader political perspective for the Balkans, I think one has to be very clear that with everything we have done under this mandate, with all the tools through which we are now speeding up the real integration, and with all the work the government is doing to fast forward the institutional process of accession of Montenegro, you will have to see the next Commission to be an enlargement Commission, meaning that at the end of the mandate of the next Commission, the EU will be ready to receive new members. And these new members should include the whole of the Western Balkans, because by 2027, because of the growth plan, with the aid intensity that you have from the economic and investment plan, with the reform agendas, with the additional funding, the Balkan will be ready, or could be ready, or could make itself ready to join the European Union. So I think it was a very positive meeting, and I'm very hopeful that this changes also the regional approach here in the Balkans. Thank you very much.
Zahvaljujemo se. Možemo početi sa pitanjima. Samo da napomenem da imamo nekih 6 do 7 minuta zbog komesarovog leta, pa da ispoštujemo sve. Izvolite. Samo mikrofon, predstavite se.
Hvala vam. Amra Tahirović, televizija je. Uvaženi predsjedniče vlade, evo govorimo o jedinstvu regiona. Željela bih da vas podsjetim da smo u posljednje vrijeme, za kratko vrijeme, dobili 2 protestne note iz zemalja susjedstva. Prvu smo dobili zato što nismo istakli zvaničnu zastavu Bosne i Hercegovine prilikom zvanične posjete. Drugu zato što u nekom smislu mogu reći pokušavamo da budemo Međunarodni sud pravde i donosimo odluke o tome koji je događaj u istoriji bio zločin ili genocid, dok onaj koji je zaista potvrđen kao genocid na Međunarodnom sudu ne želimo otvoreno da priznamo. Moje pitanje za vas je da li sve ovo što se događa znači da Crna Gora, odnosno njena spoljna politika i regionalna politika mijenjaju svoj pravac, Da li nam možete ovdje otvoreno, ne u Njemačkoj, nego nama ovdje reći da li će Crna Gora podržati rezoluciju i glasati i da li je genocid u Srebrenici za vas neupitna činjenica? Hvala.
Ja sam se nadao da ćemo imati pitanje za našeg uvaženog gosta koji za par minuta morat će da napusti zemlju. Ja mislim da su sva ta pitanja već odgovorena više puta i na sesiji u parlamentu i imali smo mnogo prilika da o tome razgovaramo. Kao što sam rekao, sva bilateralna pitanja koja opterećuju region se rješavaju u jednoj prijateljskoj atmosferi. Kao što ste vidjeli, Zapadni Balkan je jedinstven, poslali smo jednu stvarno lijepu poruku. Mislim da će negdje u budućnosti svi bilateralni problemi koje su opterećivali multilateralne probleme, imamo recimo CEFTA-u koja je odavno veliki problem zbog bilateralnih i taoc bilateralnih problema. Mislim da smo jako blizu rješenja, mislim da je taj breakthrough negdje izvjestan i poslije svih ovih sastanaka koje smo danas bili, koji smo bili svjedoci, tako da to su neke velike stvari koje su upravo desile u Crnoj Gori. I sav napredak u budućnosti do berlinskog i procesa i drugih sastanaka, nadam se i u Bosni i Hercegovini u septembru, da ćemo imati sva te bilateralne probleme negdje po strani, a svi se fokusirati na našu zajedničku evropsku budućnost sa boljom ekonomijom. Hvala.
Hvala vam. Rekli smo već da smo odgovorili na sva pitanja prethodno. Izvolite.
Poštovanje, Ljubica Milićević, televizija Vijesti. Za gospodina Varheljija pitanje kada Crna Gora može da očekuje prvi novac iz ovog plana rasta i koliko od ukupne sume koja se opredjeljuje, a za gospodina Spajića šta je naš uslov za to da i kad tačno dobijemo novac. I molim vas još za gospodina Varheljija, budući da je sa ovom protestnom notom iz Hrvatske iz zvaničnog Zagreba ukazano da bi to moglo uticati na evropski put Crne Gore. Šta je vaše mišljenje po tom pitanju? Hvala.
Well, first of all, if all goes well, and it seems that things are going well, once we have the reform agendas agreed and approved by the European Union as well, we expect to be able to disburse the first payments still before the summer. In terms of the share, the criteria is very clear. And I think that the figures are publicly available. On this issue that you mentioned about Croatia, I think what is very clear that having good neighborly relations is a precondition for any candidate country to join the European Union. We have seen this criteria being very sensitive, quite central criteria. So therefore, we always ask our candidate country partners to engage even more with the member states themselves directly. And I think that it is very important to keep these relations evolving to the level of relations of member states are having. So I'm very confident that the government will reach out to Croatia, and all possible differences can be clarified. And therefore, I think that a clear dialogue will avoid any disturbance to the EU path.
Mogu samo da dodam, da li je Crnoj Gori potrebna rezolucija o genocidu u Jasenovcu? Izvinjavam se.
Can you repeat it? We have no more time, please.
Da li je po vašem mišljenju Crnoj Gori potrebno da donese rezoluciju o Jasenovcu, ako imamo ovakve poruke iz susjedstva?
Well, I don't want to, get involved into the interpretation of history. The Balkan can be very easily distracted by discussing history over and over again. I think when we have seen the work of the International Court, we have seen also a very clear definition of what has happened and who has done it. So anything that distracts us from this is to the detriment of the region. So for that reason, I think the most important is that everybody respects these judgments and everybody enforces them.
Premijer, hoćemo samo kratko i završavam.
Upravo su crnogorski amandmani bili jako dobrodošli u jednoj konstelaciji stvari koja je bila jako zategnuta u regionu. I vidite da su sa svih strana pozdravljeni. Tako da ja očekujem da se crnogorski amandmani prihvate. Vidjeli smo i najave da će prvi amandman biti definitivno dio teksta, dio osnovnog teksta. Vidjet ćemo upravo drugi amandman i dalje razgovaramo na formulaciji koja bi odgovarala svim stranama koje predlažu rezoluciju. Međutim, upravo je komesar Varhelyi poentirao se jednom jako bitnom temom. Regionalna saradnja, odnosno saradnja u ovom slučaju između Crne Gore i Hrvatske, je u stvari su evropske integracije. Kao što za Njemačku nisu bile evropske integracije samo sa Poljskom, recimo, ili nekom drugom zemljom, nego su bile integracije sa onom zemljom sa kojom su imali možda najviše konflikta u prošlosti, kao što je Francuska. Tako da te regionalne integracije su stvari evropske integracije. Suština evropskih integracija. I mi ćemo imati, ja sam ubijeđen u to, sa Hrvatskom apsolutno najbolje odnose koje Crna Gora ili bilo koja država može da ima. Tako da ja ne sumnjam da ćemo te odnose dići na jedan nivo neviđen od 80. godina i to je ono u što mi treba se vratimo. Negdje Crna Gora i Hrvatska su prirodno naslonjene jedna na drugu, vrlo su slične i mnogo možemo da naučimo iz hrvatskog primjera, tako da očekujem ta saradnja stvarno da funkcioniše na jednom savršenom nivou. Spomenuli ste pitanje oko plana rasta, izvinjavam se, možete li ponoviti?
Uslovi.
Naše reforme koje smo mi predložili kao dio plana rasta su apsolutno najambicioznije u regionu. Stvarno nikome ne želim da priznam da ima i približno ambiciozne reforme kao što mi imamo. Mislim da su naše reforme apsolutno na nivou zemalja članica i njihovih ambicija, tako da ne plašimo se izazova, ne plašimo se teških zadataka, dali smo sebi vrlo smo podigli tu ljestvicu na jedan vrlo visok nivo, ne plašimo se toga, ali upravo će to omogućiti da povlačimo novac ubrzanije, nadam se, ali suština svega nije povlačenje novca. Mislim da je to, da se negdje mistifikuje taj novac i neko kaže, novac je sve u planu rasta, neko kaže, to je premalo, prekasno. Mislim da ni jedno ni drugo nije istina. Suština plana rasta je da će region postati dio jedinstvenog tržišta i da će region izvjesno biti dio Evropske unije. To je najbitnija stvar koju treba da znamo iz plana rasta.
Hvala vam puno, vrijeme je isteklo, već kasnimo. Ja ću samo napomenuti, vi ste slobodni, hvala vam još jednom. Handshakes, okay. Just a second, and you're free to go. Thank you, and please, sorry for everything. Just handshake here. Handshake. Just a second, please. In the middle. Čovjek kasnije na let. Enough. Thank you, and sorry once again. Samo da napomenem za novinare da će uskoro svi materijali sa današnjeg samita biti dostupni na